Dormammu is one of the coolest, most expressive characters in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Big flamey normals, big flamey supers, and big flamey spells, this cosmic character provides a very cool way to play. With exciting players such as Angelic, Jason Kido, Salute, Idom, Spiral, and more, Dormammu's stock value has never been higher. While his unique and exciting gameplay is one of his biggest appeals, Dormammu can be hard to learn early on, and some players may be put off by his unorthodox approach to Marvel. So here's 5 tips to help you and any other aspiring Dormammus get ahead of the competition. Tip number 1. Dormammu has a lovely selection of normals. He has fantastic normals for cross-ups, he has great throw option selects in a lot of them, he has good movement to combine with them to make for some fantastic options for runaway, he has Tri-Dash lights, he has normals which nullify projectiles. One of the things that you do need to be aware of with his buttons though is that even on big characters like Dormammu himself, you can end up whiffing the mediums. So my first tip specifically is cut out your mediums from hit confirms and from combos in general, unless you are specifically using a medium on a relaunch or something like that, or starting potentially with an anti-air crouch medium into like an S or something like that. Your strings should always be to hit confirm, and generally speaking, when you're comboing, should generally be something like crouch light, crouch heavy, and then hit confirm either S or hit confirm from the crouch heavy into flame carpet if they are blocking. So if you see that they're blocking, you're going to get something like that as your block string. However, you can also do, potentially, instead of crouch heavy, you can do crouch light into, and I say crouch light because stand light again can also whiff, crouch light into stand heavy, cancelled into dark matter, or again, you could do S from that, but combos when you do stand heavy into S can end up a bit high, and you can lose damage because you'll have to sacrifice a little bit of damage to convert that. So you have to do something like medium S and lose damage and frame advantage. Or alternatively, you could do like this into dark matter or flame carpet again on block. This is going to lead to more damage. However, you must be wary. There are characters, of course, who, for example, like Morrigan here, who can just straight up crouch underneath that as a block string. So we cancel into dark matter a lot of the time for the combo, but flame carpet is much safer. It's plus on block, and you get continuous pressure if they don't push block out. So for example, if a string is blocked like that, you can then press buttons again afterwards whilst at advantage. And if they're big enough, you can hit them with that stand medium at range and go from here into a carpet, which can still hit at this range, and it's a nice little chunk, 81,000 damage on that. Whereas the dark matter can whiff. So for example, you might end up in a situation where Morrigan might press buttons underneath that. That happens with Morrigan. It probably happens with most low to the ground characters, very small ones, your Morrigans, your Arthurs, your Zeros, your Rocket Raccoons, but also any character who has low profiling normal. So any character that can lower the profile of the hitbox and her box will go underneath this dark matter. So any character with a slide, you talk Hawkeye, She-Hulk, Frank West, Nova, for example, they will all skip straight underneath it. So that's why, generally speaking, it's not the best idea, despite it seeming maybe at first this string here, it's not the best idea to continually do it. So that first tip, make sure that you cut those mediums out of your grounded strings, like that. Tip number 2. Dormammu is a character who enjoys space. You might notice it from some of his clear design choices in the fact that he has zoning capabilities, but they are focused very much on slow startup, high payoff on hit. Normal, so for example, you got highly hit confirmable things like, for example, his Dark Hole. You got so much time to confirm that. He wants the space. He's got a super that pushes them very far away. He's got a super that takes a long time to get out, so you need the space for that. You also might take in the clues from things like the fact that his forward dash goes that far, but his back dash goes nearly double the length. So one thing that you must learn with Dormammu is movement. Tip number 2 is all about his movement. You must learn to run away effectively, and a lot of the time you might think running away requires you to super jump as far as you can away as soon as possible, potentially super jump up the air dash and then try and run away, either by plink dashing away or for example by zigzag dashing away. If you haven't learned plink dashing yet, you can still zigzag. It is effective with Dormammu. Remember, if you are plink dashing, make sure you plink dash diagonal up, not straight across, because the same plink dashes get you much further if you do a diagonal plink dash in the air with him. So one thing to note is that you should be utilising that backdash So you can't super jump out of that backdash. However, you can normal jump out of it. And if you normal jump out of that after a backdash, so you've just cleared that distance and then air dash up back into flight, you've now cleared the best part of the screen and you're ready to keep flying away and keep them chasing you if they are looking to chase you. It might be that they're looking to hit you with some large specials of their own, like disruptors or soulfists, so on and so forth. Now, what this does is it gets you space, but it also then allows you additional air action. So Dormammu cannot act after a dark hole in the air, cannot act after a spell in the air, very much limiting his options. However, if you air dash up and then fly, I can now do spells, I can do dark holes, and I can still act after them because I've utilized flight and the fact that flight allows me to use multiple specials. What this also does, however, is give me the option to get up here, charge a couple of spells, and then still call an assist. You may well have seen players like Jason Kido or Master CJ back in the day using techniques like this to manipulate the opponent into coming in to attack them and then hitting them with an assist as they either try to maybe run away, maybe avoid spells, or maybe come in and attack. And it's a really potent thing because one of the best ways for Dormammu to come down potentially is with an assist covering that fall. Using a teleport rather than floating up to the top of the screen. You can charge 3 spells. Like for example, if you super jump up, you can charge 3 spells up here, and I've already got one there, but then you are very vulnerable on the way down because you've already used your air dash and you don't have any options left but to come down and either press a button, try to take a throw, or just hold the left-right block scenario instead of trying to escape there. So we need to utilize, number one, all the movement options he has, but then also all the tools that he has. Flight plus assist is superb. I utilize it well. Sometimes I'll feint like this. One of the best things you can do with Dormammu is quickly feint this. So if you feint up and down like that, if you air dash up back into flight, you can go up forward, down back, and then do a falling S. And it's a really nice way to catch people who are trying to chase you down, because you can hit them on the way down. It's fairly safe because you're doing that air dash down back. It's hard for them to anti-air you without getting clipped themselves by that jump S, but he has other tools as well, of course. This tri-dash naturally is one that you can use, but make sure that you're mixing in your backdash as well, at least into the first one. You can continue doing that, but it's nice if you mix up his direction. So one of the things you're trying to do is use his movement to stir them into being aggressive, because then, one, of course, you're a keep away character, you want to keep them away, maybe use assists to that great effect to keep them away. However, one of the potent things about Dormammu is that he can very quickly switch into a tri-dash light, and if they are coming at you and you put a tri-dash light at them, you can very easily surprise them and catch them on their approach, which is a big benefit for Dormammu. You get meter, you can build more stalking flows, you can kill off a lot of hit confirms for him because he does great damage. It's an important thing to learn. But then we also have to think about what sort of normals can we be using in our movement here. So in our movement, remember that the best way to use normals whilst you're moving is potentially out of flight, or if someone's approaching and you're getting close, you can swing with a fish hook, dash up forward, dash up, and hit them with a tri-dash H, which will option select throw, and potentially be the lowest cross up that he's got. Out of that, it's very low to the ground cross up, or potentially go a bit higher and use S instead. You don't get it quite as low, but it is a bigger cross up hitbox and can hit from more angles. Potentially air dash back with jump medium. It's a very active move, very active indeed. And this normal will hit from a lot of angles on a lot of characters, and also nullify projectiles on the way down because it's so active. It's kind of similar to Phoenix Jump S, just not quite as big, but a very good normal nonetheless. So remember to utilize the movement, utilize his normals, utilize flight and assists to make sure your movement is crispy clean for Dormammu here. Tip number 3 for Dormammu involves dark matter. And the tip here is to not use it into teleport. That sounds stupid, doesn't it? Because Dormammu's main strength in zoning is his ability to flip into offense, and a lot of the time the thing that you actually see people getting hit by is dark matter teleport cross-up. And that is one of his best strengths. It's one of the things which allows him solo to still fight a lot of characters, because he can unpredictably hit him with that. What I'm telling you to do is avoid predictability. And that predictability comes from overusing this. And it's very understandable. A lot of players, if you're watching them play Dormammu, will hit a lot of opponents with dark matter teleport. And the reason they're able to do that is because they don't use it too much. You've got to use it rarely, sparingly, when you must get that hit. And the reason you obviously want to do it is because the payoff is so large. You get a full combo, you're able to confirm into big damage, big meter build, and you're able to turn the tide of a game. It's a brilliant tool. However, what you must do is mix in your other options. So Dark Matter is a low priority projectile. It is, I think, only worth 1 durability. It's pretty pathetic in terms of durability. Most of anything cancels it. However, that's also true for Dormammu. Most of anything cancels it. You can cancel into your Purification, you can cancel into your Dark Hole, you can cancel into spells, you can not cancel it at all and press assists, and these are the options you want to mix in. Of course, you do have teleports, you do have fly as well, so you might do something like that and then get out of there, potentially something like that. But you have to mix in your options. There's plenty of ways to do this, so one of the things I like to do naturally is I utilize my assists and I start throwing things like this and getting a couple of spells out there, getting a couple of pillars out there, utilizing then this coverage. And what you're really doing is, have you noticed, Dormammu's main zoning tool is his pillars into Stalking Flare. Stalking Flare is really slow. So people want to get in. They don't want you to be able to have the space available to be able to do that and the frame advantage necessary. His pillars are really slow, and they take up a lot of space on screen, but you can get past them, so they want to get to you and prevent you from being able to do that. So, naturally, the best way for them to do that, a lot of characters, is to move along the ground. Now, that's not the case with Dormammu necessarily, it's not the case for even Doctor Doom or Morrigan on the opposing team. But Magneto, for example, he can potentially combat you and move through the air as well. But a lot of characters, the fastest way in any given situation is to blink dash in. That's true for a lot of characters, especially the ground-based ones, but a lot of characters will have faster ground-based options than they do air-based ones. A lot of characters will, that's the case. So you're putting a barrier to them being able to dash in. You're putting a barrier out there, and when you do that, you are effectively making your zoning that much harder to get in, because if you're purely doing pillars like this over and over, eventually, you know, you might hit them and do 120,000 damage, but if you guess wrong, for example, like this, if you guess wrong on any sort of pillar, they're right there ready to punish you. It's a full punish and your character's dead. It's one of those things where you're taking a large risk, whereas this is a much lower risk move that allows you just to take a moment, just have a look and see, do I cancel now into a heavy pillar, because they are definitely about to get hit by that dark matter, or at least touch it and be put into block stun? Do I do Dark Hole? Or potentially, do I cancel, I know that this is a fast moving character, do I cancel into L pillar, or do I cancel into medium pillar? So just wait and see for just a moment. But what I will say is, cancel into some of these specials, because you need to start utilizing some of your specials, and be that a spell like that. It's a very non-committal option, and you gain spell charges, which is perfect, because the whole thing, the point is that the opponents don't want you to gain spells, so they are looking to rapidly get in. So when you throw that dark matter, it's another obstacle in their way that they have to consider, and when they keep seeing it hitting them front side, and maybe you do big damage on them like this, you can do half of most characters' health by cancelling into this, and it's very hit confirmable into Dark Hole, something like that, 440k damage. It's nearly 900k if you do 2 of those, so that's most characters' health in the game, pretty much. It's like 950 is the average overall. So you're doing a lot of damage, and it's dangerous for your opponents to do that. So then they have to worry about being hit front side and taking big damage, or potentially worse, taking, you know, if you choose to spend your X Factor like this, well then you're going to kill them, aren't you, for that confirm. But they also have to think about what you're doing with your assists, because that's the other thing that I want you to do. Obviously, call assists with your Dark Matter. I've got a good couple of assists here, you know, to cover it with. I've got a Dark Matter hitting this normal area here. I've got a Rising Fang going above that area there, covering the up forward ankle right above me. However, all of your assists can be used individually and uniquely, whether it be missiles, whether it be Jam Session, Tatsu, Lariat from Hagar. You've got all of these different options, and use them. It's gonna very much define the type of Dormammu play you play, depending on what assist that is. However, what you can do is sit and wait for just a second, see what they're doing, and then call your assist and quickly get a spell. Spells are fundamental to Dormammu's game plan, in my opinion, and the way you should be playing him. In addition to that, instead of doing teleports over and over again, just repeatedly, and not getting anywhere with it, what you can do instead is mix in, if you've got any full screen assists, this type of thing, well then you can mix them in, so that one gets blocked, and then you call Disruptor for the cross-up afterwards. Give me, I missed the teleport there. Like that, so you've got a mix-up built in, so if you know they're about to block the first one, you can go for the second one. Likewise, you can actually just do 2 like this, and then cross-up afterwards. So 2 front blocks followed by a back block. And the more you do that, the more times that happens, well then situations like this, where potentially you're going to get a spell and then call Disruptor, and then do your mix-up, well, the more times that that will cross up, the more times that this will cross up and actually get you that successful hit. So make sure that you are mixing in your options to increase the effectiveness of all of them. The more options that you use, it might seem counterintuitive, while I'm just doing little bits of damage with a pillar. But each time you hit them with a pillar when they're trying to advance because you've watched your dark matter fly and saw that they're about to advance, well, that's the next time they're worried more about your pillar than they are about your dark matter teleport. The next time they wake up after you hit them with something stray, the next chance you get to do a dark matter teleport like that, the more effective and higher hit rate you're going to get out of that. Tip number 4. Dormammu is a character who has great zoning tools, but really actually does, in my opinion, rely quite heavily on his spells. Either 1 red, 2 blue, his meteors, which is fantastic for zoning, fantastic for getting chip, especially if they get caught in the middle of it like this, because it builds a good chunk of damage, good chunk of meter for Dormammu right there, or alternatively his 2 red, 1 blue spell. Now that's great for a lot of reasons, but one is because of its combo potential, its ability to save Dormammu in situations where he's being attacked, because specifically both of those spells are the best releases that he has, because either one of the 2 red, 1 blue, or 2 blue, 1 red spells, once you've hit that button to release it, it will come out no matter what. Regardless of what is happening to Dormammu, the spell is going to come out. Which is really key for his ability to then zone more safely and potentially bait people into attacking too hard and getting caught and then confirmed into a combo from his end. The other spell you might want to utilize is 3 red, which of course then gives you this confirm, or just go straight into dark matter, go straight into chaotic flame, something like that. But these spells are fundamental to his play. So my tip number 4 is to utilize any chance you get where you're not being heavily rushed down to sneak a little charge spell. And ways that we can do this are, as I mentioned last time, you can cancel dark matter into it. You can cancel dark matter with assist and then cover yourself and get 2 spells quite easily. You can dash up back and then get 2 spells and still have enough time in your flight to teleport with an assist afterwards, which is really nice. You'll have obviously seen someone like Jason Kido do that quite frequently. You have options while you're running away. Just if you know that an assist's about to put them in Blockstone, you can put pillars on them, but mix up your options and get a spell charge here and there. Because every time you get a spell, for example, if you're going to do for Dormammu's level 3, well then let's make use of the time that you've got there. Most of the time you want to be doing 1 spell charge into level 3. And when a character dies, you want to charge spells because the spells are so effective. Obviously set up for your next character's mix-up. Maybe just make sure you've got a meaty on them. Maybe make sure that you're going to be able to actually have the frame advantage to use Dormammu's tools to put them in Blockstun, have them fall into Flame Carpet, and then potentially eat and mix up with an assist. But you want to be charging spells when you get the chance, and one of the better ways to charge spells is potentially to always make sure that you DHC to Dormammu's Stalking Flare for the kill. If you can do enough damage to do this, you're going to get 2 spells out of your next wake up, and then a carpet easily enough so that you can then build 2. So there, you're running away, and now we're in a neutral situation where I've got spells. Even if they punish that assist I just called, it might have been that you've called an assist that commits like that full screen. It might be Tatsu, it might be Rising Fire, it might be Jam Session. It might not be. It might be Missiles, Disruptor, Lariat, something like that, where you're not quite as committal with your characters, your assist positioning. But whatever happens, you're then able to then release your spell and see what happens next, and then build more bar for yourself, put them in more pressure, do more chip to them, and essentially make your life as a Dormammu player a lot easier. And again, about mixing up your options. If you have more options, well then you are a bigger threat. If they're going to come straight in, if they know that after that pillar they have to get close to you, well then potentially they're going to try and come in, and that's when you hit them with that unexpected spell that they don't think is coming. It's hard for your opponents a lot of the time, especially if you're up at the top of the screen like this, to see exactly what spells are being charged at all times. So it's good for you to be able to get some additional spells out there, but use that space, that timing, to be able to get as many spells as you can at all times. Tip number 5. Dormammu is a zoning character. He's a character who clearly has the tools to zone. However, I think a misconception about him is that he zones super effectively. Just if you're a good Dormammu player, you're going to be hitting these pillars all day. They're not going to be able to get in. You're going to be away on the other side of the screen. But the truth is, you can actually catch Dormammu relatively easily. And the main way that people do that is to get up into the air, above dark matter height, and then juke. You can juke on the ground, forwards and back. Because if I'm trying to put pillars on a person and they are in heavy range, and then suddenly I think they're going to go medium, but they're outside of medium once they do that. Maybe they sit in this space just here outside of medium range. Once they're there, they're able then at that point to do a number of things basically to stop me from being able to continue my zoning. Whether it be juke forwards and back, like for example with Magneto, you can juke into that space and then juke back, and then just get all the way through. So if I'm going to do like a heavy pillar, for example, Magneto has the opportunity to basically get through and hit me for a full combo into death. I was going to earn, how much damage is a pillar? 120,000 damage if I hit Magneto. He gets the reward of killing me if I mess that up. So it's a risk, and the more able your opponent is to juke you, the easier it becomes for them to basically make you lose any sort of ability to zone. So that's why spells are good, because it's very hard to juke a spell. It's really hard to basically mix up your movement enough to avoid the entirety of something like this, because the spells have huge coverage and the stalking flow is then going to follow it up. So when you're zoning, you need to understand with Dormammu that realistically he is akin to, say, Virgil, a very meta happy character, and that's potentially why Dormammu fell off quite a bit, because he's a character who solo in X Factor 3 can make decent comebacks, but if they have X Factor, that's a potential issue. Virgil doesn't have that issue. Dormammu is best in the second slot, whereas Virgil can be placed third very easily, and his strength as an anchor shines because he will spend that meter and get many mix-ups off it and be able to kill 3 characters very easily. While Dormammu has the damage to do that, and potentially some of the mix-ups to be able to do that, the damage comes slower, you have to spend more bar for it, and potentially the way you spend bar is not quite as effective, and still more counterable than, you know, Virgil with swords and Devil Trigger with X Factor 3. So he's fallen off a little bit. You have to spend that meter with him, potentially, to keep yourself safe. There are better zoning assists out there, so if, you know, I'm using Iron Fist for my primary setup here. I play Dormammu with Jam Session, Plasma Beam, Missiles, Disruptor. I play with a lot of assists. You might play with things like Rocket Raccoon's Log Trap, Spitfire twice. Both of those assists are really good. Doom Rocks. There's a ton of assists. Lariat from Hagar as well. There's a lot of great assists out there for Dormammu, and the assist that you pick will determine what type of zoning, what type of space control, what type of runaway potentially that you're going to play, and where and how you're going to build your spells. But that's key. You need to figure out with your team what sort of strings you can put together. I've put together a couple of basic videos where I basically showed, you know, if you've got an assist like Disruptor or Plasma Beam or Missiles from Doom, how might you actually construct a zoning sequence. In fact, let me do that with my opposing team right now. So you're going to do something like this. You're going to put this out there, and then with missiles, you call it straight away, then build spells, and then potentially get a pillar out, and the missiles are going to cover after that. With something like, for example, you know, if I've got Disruptor right there, I'm going to get a spell first. I'm going to get a spell, and then I'm going to call it, potentially, depending on the spacing. You might even get 2 spells before calling it, seeing what your opponent's going to do, whether they got hit or not, and then you're in a position to spend those spells again. So you need to be aware that Dormammu needs to spend meter to zone continuously, because eventually you're going to run out of screen space and you're going to have to teleport out the corner. And if they're mid-screen, and if they don't give up the mid-screen position, or they don't chase too hard into the corner, it's going to be hard, and you're going to need to rely on assist to be able to get out of there. But again, you might be punished for it. You might actually get punished for your attempts to teleport away. So that's why getting used to zoning in a very varied fashion, like throwing dark matters, throwing a couple of pillars in a row, looking like you're about to move forward, and then moving back and getting a carpet out, charging a spell, getting up top like this, and then corner assist coming back down, and then maybe corner assist another time, and then teleporting behind them like that and confirming into a kill. The more you do this, the harder it becomes to read your Dormammu over a long set, or be downloaded within the course of a first to 3. Best of 5, and generally speaking, just the more effective your zoning is going to be, because eventually, if you are varying your play with Dormammu enough, he is one of the most hated characters. People who I play, and people who play Dormammu a lot, hate the character because he's an arsehole to try and get in on. Honestly, he's really difficult to catch, and when you do finally get close, you might get hit by an assist, you might get knocked full screen, you might get confirmed into X Factor. There's a whole number of things that can be done. The spell might come, you finally get close, it actually looks like you've hit Dormammu, but the spell's right there hitting you instead, and then, you know, it's a full confirm into death, something like this. there's a lot to say about this. It very much depends on your team, but what I will say is you must always err on the side of caution. So there are some huge committal moves that he has. If you're going to commit to something like a pillar like this into Stalking Flare, you want them to be getting hit by that pillar. It's hard to determine when that's going to be, but that gives you maximum frame advantage naturally. If they get hit like that and they're at the top of the screen, full screen, well then go for it, because from there, that's frame advantage for you, but you have to be wary that their assist might get called then. If they had Disruptor assist there, that's going to be something that they can call in order to stop you from being able to punish them. So I'm holding down back there, he recovers there. Let me just try this with I'll call Disruptor here, unless let's get hit by the pillar. I'm going to go into that super, and I'm going to dash up, and now that's gone. So you have to be aware that potentially sometimes you might make mistakes with Dormammu, and at that point you're going to have to save your situation. If you know that their assist is about to punish you, they're about to call it like that, well then DHC through and punish them instead when that assist call comes, for example, like that. The situations where you set it up like that, but generally speaking, your zoning just has to be varied. You need to mix in those spells, mix in when you're going to get your spell charges, put those dark manas out there, wait and see, teleport with your assists, teleport with your point character with Dormammu, mix in those pillars, mix in dark holes, because dark holes are a lovely tool to use. Ultimately, they're on the side of caution, vary your zoning patterns, and if you are struggling to think of a little bit of a pattern, there's nothing set because Marvel's so free that they will be anywhere on the screen. If you are struggling to think of little set plays that you can use, little ways that you can put together small zoning strings, well then leave me a comment down below. Let me have a little try at putting together something for your team. If it's a team that I've already played with Dormammu, if it's partners I've already used, I'll suggest something immediately. Might go away to training mode for you, but ultimately it's something you have to learn. It's your team, it's your responsibility to get into training mode and have a fiddle around and see, okay, well if they do block that, I'm guaranteed to get one more dark matter, which could be a left-right, or I might just cancel it into a dark hole for extra chip and then get the extra frame advantage. Because again, dark hole's another one where even if it's point blank like that, it's really good for getting a Stalking Flare out because it locks them down for so long. Whereas if it was a pillar, for example, that leaves me vulnerable for just a moment there before the pillar comes out. You have more frame advantage due to the later lockdown from the dark hole that you get. So mix up your options, learn as much as you can about Dormammu. With zoning, the final thing really to mention is don't zone sometimes, rush. So you're running away, you're trying to zone, they're coming at you hard, put down like that carpet, but potentially other times, come back in. So naturally, I like to use air dash down back. If someone's chasing me hard, I like to use air dash down back jab. But I might actually sometimes run away like this and then jump back like that, but then come back down forward. So as they're chasing, they're getting hit, and it's going to take them a heck of a lot of skill and maybe a lot of time just playing you to be able to realize that that might happen to them sometimes, because when they get hit like that, it's going to really mess with their ability to rush you down. Again, vary those options. So there we have it, 5 tips to help you take your Dormammu play from that early stages through to intermediacy, through to that advanced, maybe even top level Dormammu play in the future. I hope this was educational. I hope it illuminated some of the things which maybe you weren't so sure about trying to play Dormammu. However, if there are some things which you are still completely unsure about or have questions about, whether it be about the team makeup that you're looking to do, a certain matchup that's giving you a lot of trouble, certain things which keep dropping or failing for you with Dormammu, leave me a comment down below. I'll do my best to come back to you with my best possible advice. If you have enjoyed this content, leave a like on the video, and if you'd like to see more of this content in the future, hit that subscribe button. It really does help YouTube understand that this content should be more visible because it's going to be enjoyable for those who watch it, and it'd really help out the channel. We hit 1,000 subscribers very recently, which I was extremely proud of. I've had this channel for 10 years. I've got 400 videos on it, and I've just hit 1,000 subscribers. Really chuffed about that. If you would like to support me in a more serious matter, I am looking to raise funds in order to get to EVO 2023. They've just announced Marvel for EVO 2023 as a main game, one of 8 games with a 25,000 pot bonus. It's going to be incredible. Every player is going to come out from the woodworks. Old retirees are going to come out of retirement and come and play that game looking for that big prize pool. It's going to be ridiculous. TNS are putting on an EU qualifier. Shoutouts to those guys, and I fully intend to win that and have them whisk me away, whisk me off my feet and take me to Las Vegas for it. And if that was the case, if you have donated towards this cause, of course that money would then go on to fund another another top EU player who would come, say, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th and is able to go to EVO for the dates from August 4th to August 6th in Las Vegas in the US. So any support that you can give me, whether it just be that little like or a comment down below, I'd appreciate anything you've got. Thank you very much, everybody. I hope this has been enjoyable content for you. I'll see you guys soon. I'm looking to put more and more content out as time goes on in the run-up to EVO. Going to try and push it even harder than before. So thanks very much for the support. I'll see you guys on the flip side. Peace.